His name was Walter. The dog's name was Rex. They had been together since 1943. Since a specific week at the War Dog Training Center in Front Royal, Virginia, when a specific young private from Minnesota had been assigned the specific German shepherd who would become, over the following 2 years and 4 months, the specific most important relationship of the specific war. Not the most important person. The most important relationship. Rex was not a person. Rex was something that the available language does not fully describe. The specific animal who was also the specific partner. The specific tool who was also the specific companion. The specific dog who was also the specific reason that Walter came home alive. The war dog program of the Second World War is not one of the more celebrated dimensions of the American war effort, and the specific men who handle the specific dogs in the specific theaters have received less attention in the official history than the specific units they supported. But the specific contribution of the military working dog to the American war effort in the Pacific and in Europe was real and documented. And the specific relationship between the specific handler and the specific dog was one of the more remarkable specific relationships that the specific war produced. The dogs did specific things. They detected Japanese soldiers in the specific jungle terrain of the Pacific, where the specific vegetation and the specific conditions made visual detection unreliable, and where the specific German shepherd's specific nose could identify the specific human presence that the specific soldier's eyes could not see. They ran messages in conditions where the specific radio communication was unavailable and the specific human messenger was a specific target. They searched the specific rubble of the specific bombed cities for the specific survivors whose specific presence the specific dogs could identify from the specific scent. Rex did these things in the Pacific. He did them in the specific conditions of the Pacific Island campaigns, Guadalcanal, Bougainville, the Philippines, in the specific conditions of the specific jungle war that made the specific dog an indispensable member of the specific unit. He did them at Walter's side, responding to Walter's specific commands and Walter's specific handling in the specific relationship of the military working dog and the specific human who was responsible for the specific animal's training and deployment and welfare. The specific relationship between the military working dog and the handler was not the specific relationship of the pet and the owner. It was more than that and different from that. The specific military working dog was a specific partner in the specific dangerous work. The specific animal whose specific capabilities were the specific reason the specific unit survived the specific engagements that the specific intelligence of the specific dog had made survivable. The specific handler was a specific person responsible for the specific animal's performance and the specific person on whom the specific animal's specific trust was focused. The specific trust of the specific military working dog, the specific complete orientation toward the specific handler that the specific training produced, was a specific quality of relationship that Walter had never experienced before and has never experienced since. By his own accounting in the memoir he wrote in 1987, he had had dogs before the war. He had loved them in the specific ordinary way of the specific person who has grown up with animals. The relationship with Rex was not the specific ordinary love. It was a specific, complete mutual dependence of two beings who are doing the specific dangerous thing together and who know, in the specific animal and the specific human way respectively, that the specific other one is what the specific survival depends on. Before I tell you the full story of what happened to Rex and what the specific loss cost Walter, I want to ask you directly, subscribe and share this episode. The bond between the military working dog and the handler is one of the specific human-animal relationships that the war produced and one of the specific losses that the war imposed that the official history has been slow to fully acknowledge. Subscribe and hit the like button. Back to Walter. Back to Rex. Back to the bond that the specific war made and the specific war took. The specific other handlers whose stories I want to tell. The other men who came home without their dogs and who live with the specific grief that Walter's story represents. Illuminate the range of the specific experience and the range of the specific ways that the specific grief was managed or not managed in the specific post-war decades. There was a handler from Louisiana who had worked with a Labrador retriever named Bess in the European theater. Bess had been a donated dog, had come from a Louisiana family who had given her to the Army for the duration of the war with the specific understanding that she would be returned when the war was over. She was returned. She went back to the specific Louisiana family who had donated her, who received her with the specific joy of the people who had given their specific beloved dog to the specific war effort and who were now receiving her back. The handler, I will call him James, had been Bess's handler for 18 months. He had done the specific work with her in the specific conditions of a European theater, and the specific relationship had been the specific relationship that the specific work produced. He came home. Bess went back to Louisiana. He went back to Louisiana too, a different parish, a different family, the specific distance of the 100 miles between them in the specific ordinary life of the post-war South. He knew where Bess was. This was a specific different quality of James's experience compared to Walter's. The specific knowledge of the specific place, the specific knowledge that the specific dog was alive and well and living the specific civilian life in the specific Louisiana family. He could visit. He visited twice in the specific months after the return. The specific visits were the specific complicated experience of the person who goes back to the specific place where the specific thing was and finds that the specific thing has moved on, that the specific dog who had been the specific partner in the specific dangerous work was now the specific family dog of the specific Louisiana family, the specific pet in the specific ordinary life, the specific dog who wagged her tail at James's arrival and who received his presence with the specific, warm to the specific animal who remembered the specific human, but who was now in the specific different context. Bess was happy. She was well. She was in the specific appropriate place for the specific animal who had survived the specific war and who deserved the specific ordinary life of the specific pet in the specific loving family. James understood this. He was glad for her. He also understood, after the 2 visits, that visiting was not going to address the specific grief. The specific grief was not the specific grief of the specific absence that the specific visit could resolve. The specific grief was the specific grief of the specific end of relationship, the specific ending of the specific partnership that the specific post-war return had produced. Bess was alive. The relationship was over. The relationship being over was a specific loss, not the specific physical absence. He stopped visiting after the second visit, not because he stopped caring, because he understood that the specific visits were the specific form of the specific ongoing grief that was not going to resolve through the specific repetition of the specific impossible attempt to maintain the specific relationship that the specific post-war world could not contain. He built a life. He had dogs, other dogs, in the specific years after the war, and he loved them in the specific ordinary way of the specific person who has grown up with animals and who continues to have animals in the specific ordinary life. They were not Bess. He did not require them to be Bess. He received them as what they were and gave them the specific care that the specific animals deserved. But he kept Bess's collar tag, not in the specific prominent way, not on the specific mantelpiece or in the specific shadow box, in the specific pocket of the specific wallet, the specific private place of the specific private keeping. He kept it for 60 years. His daughter found it when he died. There was another handler from the Pacific, a man who had worked with a dog that had been euthanized at the end of the war, in one of the specific cases where the specific army had determined that the specific military working dog was too thoroughly trained in the specific military functions to be safely reintegrated into civilian life. The specific euthanasia had been performed before the handler was notified. He found out about it in the specific letter from the specific army that described the specific disposition of the specific property. He was devastated in the specific way that the specific information about the specific death of the specific partner, delivered in the specific clinical language of the specific property disposal, produces devastation, not because he had not known the specific possibility. He had known that the specific euthanasia was one of the specific possible outcomes for the specific dogs, because the specific clinical language of the specific property disposal was the specific wrong language for the specific thing it was describing. The letter said the dog had been humanely euthanized and the remains properly disposed of. The handler read this letter and understood that the specific animal who had kept him alive in the specific conditions of the specific Pacific campaign had been killed, in the specific absence of the specific handler, in the specific clinical conditions of the specific veterinary facility, and that the specific remains had been disposed of in the specific way that the specific institutional property disposal logic required. He did not have a grave to visit. He did not have a body to honor. He had the specific letter in the specific clinical language describing the specific property disposal. He kept the letter. He kept it in the specific angry way. The specific keeping of the document that represents the specific wrong as the specific evidence of the specific wrong. He kept it for the rest of his life in the specific folder with the specific other documents of the specific military service. And he showed it to his children when they were old enough to understand what they were looking at. His children understood. They understood the specific wrong, the specific institutional failure that the specific clinical language represented. They understood that their father had served in the specific war with the specific partner who had been described in the specific clinical terms of the specific property disposal. They received the specific document and the specific story and the specific anger, and they carried it forward. The anger was appropriate. The specific clinical language of the specific property disposal applied to the specific animal who had done the specific dangerous work alongside the specific handler was the specific wrong language. It was not the specific wrong language because the specific animal was the specific person. It was not. It was a specific wrong language because it failed to acknowledge the specific bond. And the specific bond was a specific real thing that the specific language was denying. All three of these men, Walter, James, the specific handler, carried the specific grief that the specific bond and the specific ending of the specific bond had produced. They carried it in the specific private forms that the specific civilian culture made available. The specific memoir, the specific collar tag in the specific wallet, the specific angry letter in the specific folder. None of these forms was a specific public acknowledgement that the specific grief deserved. All of them were the specific private forms of the specific people who had found the specific ways to carry what they were carrying. The specific public acknowledgement came later, in the specific memorials to the military working dog that the specific subsequent decades produced, in the specific institutional changes that the specific accumulated cases eventually forced. Walter did not see most of this. He died in 1994. The specific world he left was a world in which the specific story had not yet fully made the specific visibility it needed to make. His daughter carries the story. His memoir is in the libraries. Rex is in the memoir. The collar tag is in the family. That is a specific public acknowledgement that exists now. The specific acknowledgement that existed in Walter's lifetime was the memoir and the specific people who read it. It was not nothing. It was not enough. It was what there was. The specific war dog program of the Second World War is worth examining in more detail because the specific institutional history illuminates both the specific value of the specific program and the specific institutional failure that the specific post-war policy represented. The program began in 1942 when the Army established the War Dog Training Center at Front Royal, Virginia, in response to the specific operational need for trained dogs in the specific theaters where the specific jungle terrain and the specific combat conditions had revealed the specific limitations of the specific human sensory capabilities. The program trained approximately 10,000 dogs during the war, using the specific donated animals and the specific strays and the specific purchased animals that the specific civilian population and the specific Army acquisition made available. The specific training was intensive. The specific dogs were trained in the specific functions that the specific operation requirements identified. Scouting, message running, mine detection, search and rescue, and the specific handlers were trained alongside their specific dogs in specific programs that the specific function required. The specific relationship between the specific handler and the specific dog was the specific core of the specific training. The specific trust and the specific communication that the specific military working dog partnership required was a specific foundation on which the specific operational capability was built. The specific handlers were young men, mostly the same demographic as the combat infantry. The specific young Americans who had been drafted or who had volunteered and who had been identified by the specific aptitude screening as the specific people suited for the specific work of the specific handler. They were not dog trainers in the specific professional sense. They were soldiers who had been given the specific responsibility for the specific animal and who had developed the specific relationship through the specific training and the specific deployment. The specific relationship that developed between the specific young soldier and the specific German Shepherd, or the specific Labrador, or the specific other working breed, was a specific relationship that the specific conditions of the specific work produced. It was intense. It was mutual. The specific dog oriented to the specific handler, and the specific handler oriented to the specific dog in the specific way that the specific operational work required. And it was in the specific conditions of the specific combat deployment, the specific most reliable relationship in the specific environment. Walter described this in the memoir. He described the specific quality of Rex's alertness, the specific way the specific dog's specific body would change when the specific scent of the specific enemy reached the specific nose, the specific signal that had become the specific most reliable indicator of the specific danger that the specific human senses could not detect. He described learning to read the signal, the specific education in the specific body language of the specific animal that the specific operational relationship required, and the specific confidence that the specific ability to read the specific signal produced. He wrote, "I trusted Rex more than I trusted my own senses and field." This is not a figure of speech. His nose was better than my eyes in the jungle. His alertness was faster than my judgment. When Rex told me something was there, I believed him before I could see it myself. The specific trust in the specific animal's specific capabilities was a specific rational response to the specific evidence of those capabilities over the specific time of the specific work together. This is a specific quality of the handler-dog relationship that the civilian language does not capture when it says it was a dog. It was a specific relationship between the specific handler's specific judgment and the specific dog's specific capabilities, working in the specific complement of the specific operational partnership, in which the specific animal's specific contribution was not the specific lesser contribution of the specific pet, but the specific essential contribution of the specific partner. The specific institutional decision to designate the military working dog as property rather than as something more, as a specific partner whose specific contribution to the specific survival of the specific handler deserved the specific recognition that the specific partnership had produced, was a specific institutional failure that the specific post-war policy represented. The dogs had done the specific work. They had done it alongside the specific handlers in the specific conditions of the specific combat. They had contributed to the specific outcomes that the specific official record credits to the specific units and the specific campaigns. And at the end of the specific war, the specific institution had disposed of the specific property in the specific ways that the specific property disposal logic required, without the specific acknowledgement of the specific partnership that the specific property had constituted. This specific institutional failure was not unique to the United States. The British, the Australians, the Germans, the Japanese, all of the specific military forces that had employed the specific military working dog in the specific war disposed of the specific animals in the specific ways that the specific institutional logic of the specific property disposal required. The specific recognition of the specific human-animal bond in the specific military context, the specific acknowledgement that the specific dog who had done the specific dangerous work alongside the specific handler was the specific partner rather than the specific property, was a specific institutional recognition that did not yet exist in the specific post-war period. It exists now, partially. The United States military's current policy regarding military working dogs recognizes a specific bond between the handler and the dog in specific ways that the post-war policy did not. The specific handlers can now request to adopt the specific dogs with whom they have served. The specific ceremonial recognition of the specific military working dog service, the specific memorials, the specific honors, the specific acknowledgement of the specific contribution is more developed in the current military than it was in 1945. The specific change reflects a specific ongoing accumulation of the specific cases like Walter's, the specific stories of the specific handlers who came home without the specific dogs and who lived with the specific grief that the specific institutional failure had produced. The specific stories made the specific visibility of the specific issue possible, and the specific visibility eventually produced a specific institutional change. Walter did not benefit from the change. He was gone before the specific policy improvements of the subsequent decades were fully implemented. But the specific change, the specific institutional recognition of the specific bond that his specific story helped make visible, is part of the specific full accounting of what his specific experience produced in the world beyond his specific life. He did not know this. He did not set out to change policy. He set out to find Rex, and to write the memoir about Rex when the finding was not possible, and to put the specific words into specific record because the specific words deserve to be there. The policy changed. Rex is in the memoir. Both are real. The specific policy of the United States Army regarding its military working dogs at the end of the Second World War was one of the specific institutional decisions of the post-war period that produced a specific harm in the specific people who were affected by it. The policy was this: the dogs were property, not personnel, property, and at the end of the specific war, the specific property was disposed of in the specific ways that the specific institutional logic of property disposal required. For most of the military working dogs of the Second World War, disposal meant one of three specific outcomes. Some were returned to their pre-war owners. The specific dogs who had been donated to the Army by their civilian owners for the specific duration of the war, and who were returned when the war ended. Some were adopted by the specific military personnel who had worked with them. Some were euthanized. The specific dogs who were judged to have been too deeply trained in the specific military functions to be safely reintegrated into civilian life, or whose specific health condition made the specific adoption impractical. Rex was in none of these categories. Rex had been a stray, had been acquired directly by the Army rather than donated by a civilian owner. He was healthy. He was young. Walter had asked to adopt him. The specific request had been processed through the specific administrative channels of the specific military bureaucracy, and the specific response had been the specific denial, the specific administrative finding that the specific handler's specific request to adopt the specific dog had not been approved in time, and that the specific dog had been reassigned to another theater where the specific military working dog's specific capabilities were still required. Rex was sent to Korea. Walter came home to Minnesota without Rex. The specific separation, the specific day when the specific administrative process produced a specific outcome of the specific handler leaving the specific theater without the specific dog, was a day that Walter described in the specific memoir with the specific detail of a man who had been revisiting it for 40 years. He had said goodbye to Rex, not in the formal sense. There was no specific ceremony for the separation of the handler and the dog, no specific institutional acknowledgement of the specific bond that the specific separation was breaking. He had said goodbye in the specific practical sense of the specific last handling session, the specific last commands, the specific last contact between the specific hands that had handled the specific dog for 2 years and 4 months and the specific dog who had been handled by those specific hands for the same specific period. Rex had not known this was goodbye. This was a specific thing that Walter came back to in the memoir. The specific knowledge that the specific animal did not understand the specific ending of the specific relationship. Rex was a dog. He did not have the specific concept of the specific permanent separation. He had the specific concept of the specific handler leaving and the specific handler returning, which was a specific pattern of the specific operational deployment. Walter would leave for a mission, and Rex would wait, and Walter would return. The specific last goodbye was, for Rex, the specific beginning of the specific waiting. Walter knew Rex would wait. He knew Rex would wait for a return that would not come. He knew this, and he walked away, and he did not look back, because looking back was a specific thing he had decided he could not do. He came home to Minnesota. He came home to the specific family, parents, a sister, a town that had been waiting for him in the specific way of the families of the specific returning veterans. He came home and began the specific process of the specific post-war adjustment that the first episode of this series has already described in its general terms. The specific additional dimension of Walter's post-war adjustment was the specific grief that the specific civilian culture did not have a framework for. He had lost his partner, not a fellow soldier. He had lost fellow soldiers, and he grieved them in a specific way that the specific grief of the specific loss of the specific fellow human being requires. He had lost Rex, and the specific grief of the specific loss of the specific animal was a grief that the specific civilian culture in 1945 had no specific framework for, no specific language, no specific rituals, No specific community of the bereaved who understood what the specific loss was and what the specific grieving required. He was told, not unkindly by the specific people who cared about him, that it was a dog. He knew it was a dog. He also knew that the specific relationship he had had with the specific dog was a specific relationship that had kept him alive in the specific conditions of the specific campaign, and that the specific animal whose specific nose had identified the specific enemy's specific presence before the specific presence became the specific fatal encounter was not simply the specific pet that the specific civilian language implied. He could not explain this to the specific people who cared about him and who told him it was a dog. He could not explain it because the specific explanation required the specific experience. The specific knowledge of what the specific bond is between the specific handler and the specific military working dog in the specific conditions of the specific combat, and the specific people around him had not had the specific experience and could not receive the specific explanation. He grieved in silence, not the silence of the person who has chosen not to speak, the silence of the person who has found that the specific language available does not contain the specific thing that needs to be said, and who has therefore stopped trying to say it. He inquired about Rex. He wrote letters to the Army, to the specific unit, to the specific contacts he had in the specific military structure, asking about Rex's status. He wanted to know if Rex was alive. He wanted to know if Rex was well. He wanted to know, most specifically, if Rex was still waiting. The Army's responses were the specific institutional responses of the specific bureaucratic institution dealing with the specific inquiry about the specific property. The dog had been reassigned. The dog was performing its specific function in the specific theater. The handler's specific inquiry was noted. Further information was not available. Rex had been sent to Korea. Whether Rex was alive when the Korean War began, whether the specific military working dog from the Pacific Campaign was still active when the specific new conflict began in 1950, Walter never found out. The specific records were not available to him. The specific dog was a specific property of the specific Army, and the specific Army did not maintain the specific transparency about the specific disposition of the specific property that the specific handler needed. He never found out what happened to Rex. He lived with not knowing. He lived with it for 40 years, from the specific September 1945 of the specific return until the specific 1987 of the specific memoir. He lived with the specific not knowing in the specific way of the person who has asked the specific question that the specific available information cannot answer, and who has learned, over the specific decades, to carry the specific unanswered question as a specific permanent feature of the specific landscape of the specific life. He married. He had children. He worked at the hardware store that his father had left him. He lived the specific ordinary life of the specific Minnesota town. He was, by the external measure of the specific external observer, a successful and well-adjusted man who had served in the war and come home and built a good life. He was also, privately, still looking for Rex, not in the specific practical sense. He understood that the specific practical search was not going to produce the specific answer in the specific internal sense. He was still the specific handler who was waiting for the specific dog to come back, in the specific way that the specific handler who has been separated from the specific dog is always partly waiting. Even when the specific rational mind understands that the specific waiting is not going to produce the specific return, the specific memoir he wrote in 1987 was a specific attempt to put the specific thing into the specific words that the specific civilian language had not been able to contain. He described the specific bond, the specific 2 years and 4 months of the specific relationship, with the specific precision of a man who had been remembering every detail for 40 years and who was finally in the specific position of having a reason to put the details into the specific form of the specific words. He described Rex. He described the specific qualities, the specific intelligence, the specific reliability, the specific complete trust that had made the specific relationship what it was. He described the specific engagements, the specific moments in the specific jungle, when the specific dog had identified the specific danger that had not yet been visible to the specific human eyes, and when the specific dog's specific warning had been the specific difference between the specific survival and the specific alternative. He described the specific last day, the specific last commands, the specific last contact, the specific walking away without looking back. He wrote, "I have been asked over the years why I did not simply get another dog. I have never been able to explain why the question does not understand the specific thing it is asking about. Rex was not a dog. Rex was Rex. The specific relationship I had with Rex was a specific relationship I had with Rex. And the specific replacement of one dog with another does not address the specific thing that the specific loss of the specific relationship produced. I did not lose a dog. I lost Rex. The distinction is a specific thing I have been trying to explain for 40 years. He was right. The distinction is a specific thing. The specific bond between the specific handler and the specific military working dog is the specific bond between the specific two beings who had done the specific dangerous thing together, and it is not a general bond of the species that can be replicated with a specific other member of the species. It is a specific bond with a specific animal, and the specific loss of the specific animal is the specific loss of the specific bond, which is a specific thing that the specific civilian language does not have the specific framework to acknowledge. He died in 1994. His memoir is in several libraries. His daughter carries a story. Rex's collar tag, the specific identification tag that Walter had kept, somehow, through the specific years of the specific service, is in the family still, worn smooth from handling, still recognizable as a dog's tag from a specific war more than 70 years ago, still the specific physical evidence of the specific animal who did not come home and who Walter never stopped looking for. That is the full accounting of the war dog handler, who came home without his dog and never recovered. That is a specific grief that no one validated and that Walter carried for 40 years, and that the memoir eventually put into the words that the civilian language had not previously been able to contain. Rex is in the memoir. Rex is in the collar tag. Rex is in the story. That is enough. That is what Walter would want. The specific question of what kind of grief is valid, the specific cultural gatekeeping of which losses deserve which acknowledgement, is one that Walter's story poses most directly, and it is worth addressing directly. The grief of the war dog handler who lost a specific partner was not, in the specific cultural context of the 1940s and 1950s, the specific grief that the specific culture had a framework for acknowledging. The specific culture had specific frameworks for the specific human losses. The specific grief of the specific widow, the specific grief of the specific bereaved parent, the specific grief of the specific bereaved friend. These frameworks were imperfect and incomplete, as the other episodes in this series have shown, but they existed. They provided the specific language and the specific rituals and the specific community of the bereaved that the specific grief required. The grief of the handler for the specific dog had no specific framework. It was not the specific grief of the specific widow. It was not the specific grief of the specific bereaved parent. It was a specific grief of the specific person who had lost a specific partner in the specific dangerous work. The specific partner who had also been the specific most reliable other being in the specific conditions of the specific combat, and who had come home to a specific culture that did not have the specific language for the specific loss. The specific lack of the specific framework produced a specific additional suffering of the specific isolation. The specific experience of the person whose grief is not acknowledged by the specific culture around them. The specific people who told Walter it was just a dog were not being cruel. They were offering the specific available framework, the specific pet-owner relationship that the specific available language described, and they were being correct in their specific factual observation that Rex was, in the specific biological sense, a dog. They were wrong about what Rex was in the specific relational sense, in the specific sense of what Rex had been to Walter in the specific conditions of the specific work. But they did not know this, because the specific knowledge required the specific experience, and they had not had the specific experience. The specific isolation of the specific misunderstood grief is one of the more painful dimensions of the handler's experience, and it is one that the research on complicated grief has identified as a specific exacerbating factor in the specific grief process. When the specific grief is not acknowledged by the specific community, when the specific culture does not have the specific framework for the specific loss, the specific person grieving is deprived of the specific resources that the acknowledged grief provides, the specific validation that the specific loss is real, the specific community of the specific others who understand the specific rituals that the specific culture provides for the specific navigation of the specific loss. Walter had none of these. He had the specific private grief and the specific private forms, the specific inquiries to the army, the specific collar tag, eventually the specific memoir. He did not have the specific community of the specific others who understood, because the specific others who understood were the specific other handlers who were in the specific same situation and who were themselves in the specific same isolation. This is one of the specific things that the specific passage of time has partly addressed. The specific community of military working dog handlers, past and present, has developed in the specific decades since the war, the specific forms of mutual acknowledgement that the specific isolation of the specific period did not provide. The specific organizations, the specific memorials, the specific online communities, the specific written accounts. All of these are specific forms of the specific community of the specific acknowledged grief that Walter's generation did not have access to. He deserved it. The specific acknowledged grief, the specific validation of the specific loss, was a specific thing that the specific culture owed him and that the specific culture did not provide. He managed without it. He carried the specific grief in the specific private forms available. He wrote the specific memoir. The specific memoir is a specific form of the specific acknowledged grief that he was able to produce for himself in the specific absence of the specific cultural acknowledgement. He wrote it. The specific words are in the world. The specific grief is acknowledged in the memoir. That is a specific form of the specific acknowledgement that Walter found. It was not enough. It was what was available. He used it. The specific passage in Walter's memoir that I want to share, the specific passage that the specific daughter shared with the specific researcher who eventually told her that her father's memoir was in the specific library collection, is a specific passage about the specific last morning, not the specific last morning of the specific war, or the specific last morning of the specific Pacific deployment, the specific last morning that Walter had Rex, the specific last morning before the specific administrative process had separated them. He described it with a specific detail of a man who had been revisiting it for 40 years. He wrote, "I woke up early before the others were awake, and I took Rex out for the specific morning walk that we had been taking every morning of the specific deployment. He was beside me in the specific way he was always beside me. The specific position, the specific speed, the specific way he moved with me that the specific 2 years had produced. He did not know this was a specific last morning. He was doing what we had always done. I knew it was the specific last morning. I was in the specific awareness of the specific ending of the specific thing, and Rex was in the specific ordinary morning of the specific ongoing thing, and the two of us were in the specific different experiences of the specific same walk. He was with me. I was with him. We were in the specific different places about what the specific walk meant. I thought about trying to explain it to him. This sounds foolish when I write it. I thought about saying something in the specific voice I used with him, the specific voice he knew and responded to, that would convey the specific thing, that this was the last, that I was going, that the specific next time he waited, I was not coming back. I could not say it, not because he would not have understood. He would not have understood in the specific way that the specific dog understands the specific words of the specific command, but because the specific saying of it would have been for me, not for him. He did not need the specific information. I was the one who needed the specific saying. I did not say it. We finished the specific walk. I brought him back. I spent the specific day doing the specific things the specific process required. And then I said goodbye in a specific practical way, the specific last commands, the specific last contact, and I walked away. I did not look back. I have looked back many times since. In 40 years, I have looked back many thousands of times. The specific morning walk, the specific position he held beside me, the specific way he moved with me that we had built together over the specific 2 years. He did not know it was the last. I have thought about this many times. It was better that he did not know. The specific ignorance of the specific ending was the specific mercy that the specific animal's specific nature provided. He waited with the specific certainty of the specific dog who expects a specific handler to return, because the specific handler has always returned. He waited in the specific way of the specific animal, who does not know that the specific return is not coming. He waited. I did not return. That is the specific thing I have lived with for 40 years. He was right to wait. I was right not to look back. The specific morning walk was a specific right thing to do with the specific last morning. I would not change it. I would not change it. That is what I know after 40 years of looking back. The specific morning walk, in the specific way we had always walked, was a specific right thing to do with the specific time we had, not the dramatic goodbye. The specific ordinary morning, the specific thing we always did, the specific best version of the specific ending available to the specific beings we were. That is the Walter I carry from the memoir, the man who did the specific right thing with the specific last morning, who gave Rex a specific ordinary morning rather than the specific difficult goodbye, and who has been living with a specific not looking back for 40 years. He did not look back. He has been looking back ever since. Both things are true. Both things are the specific full accounting of the specific last morning. Rex is in the memoir. The specific last morning is in the memoir. The specific not looking back and the specific 40 years of the looking back are both in the memoir. Subscribe and share this story with someone who understands a specific bond that the specific civilian language does not fully contain. Their story is part of the story. He came home without Rex. He carried the specific grief for 40 years. He wrote the memoir. Rex is in the world now, in the words. That is enough. That is the full accounting of the war dog handler, who came home without his dog and never recovered. The specific daughter, Walter's daughter, who is in her late 60s now, has been the specific keeper of the specific memoir and the specific story since Walter's death in 1994. She has spoken to researchers and journalists and fellow handlers and the specific people who have found the memoir and who have wanted to talk about it. She describes her experience of reading the memoir for the first time. She read it when it was published in 1987, when Walter was still alive, as a specific experience of meeting a part of her father she had not known was there. She had known about Rex, had grown up knowing the general shape of the story, the specific dog who had not come home, the specific grief that her father had never fully spoken about in the specific direct terms. But the memoir gave her the specific detail, the specific 2 years and 4 months, the specific engagements, the specific morning walk, that the general knowledge had not contained. She said, "I knew my father had lost a dog in a war and that it had been hard. I did not know what the specific hard was until I read the specific words. The specific words were different from the specific general knowledge. The specific words were him. She is right. The specific words are him. The memoir is a specific form in which the specific person, the specific Walter who took the specific morning walk with the specific Rex in the specific Pacific in the specific months of the specific war, is still present in the specific world. He is gone. The specific words are there. The specific collar tag is also still there. She keeps it in the specific place he kept it, not in the specific prominent place, not in the specific display place, but in the specific private place of the specific private keeping. She does not know if she will give it to her own children, or if it will remain in the specific place until it is found after her death. She has not decided. The specific not deciding is itself the specific acknowledgement of the specific thing the collar tag is. It is not a trophy. It is not a display piece. It is a specific physical evidence of the specific animal in the specific war who is a specific partner of the specific man, and it is in the specific private place because the specific private place is the specific appropriate form of the specific keeping. Rex's collar tag, worn smooth from handling, still in the family, still in the world. Walter handled it for 40 years. His daughter has handled it since. The specific physical evidence of the specific bond survives, both of them in the specific worn metal of the specific object. That is a specific form of the specific legacy, not the dramatic monument. The specific worn collar tag in the specific private place, handled by the specific people who loved the specific man, who loved the specific dog who did not come home. The specific community of military working dog handlers, past and present, has grown in the specific decades since Walter's time. The specific organizations that support the specific handlers and the specific dogs have developed the specific resources and the specific recognition that Walter's generation did not have. The specific memorials, the specific statues, the specific ceremonies, the specific official acknowledgement of the specific contribution have been built and established in the specific public spaces of the specific country. Walter would have appreciated them. He would not have considered them sufficient. The specific acknowledgement of the specific bond between the specific handler and the specific military working dog requires more than the specific public monument. But he would have appreciated them as a specific form of the specific acknowledgement that the specific culture has been slowly, incompletely working toward. He wrote the memoir so that the specific words would be in the world. The memoir is in the world. The specific words are in the libraries. Rex is in the words. The specific morning walk is in the words. The specific 2 years and 4 months are in the words. The specific not looking back and the specific 40 years of the looking back are in the words. He came home without Rex. He carried the grief. He wrote the memoir. The grief and the bond in the specific morning walk are in the record. That is enough. That is the war dog handler who came home without his dog. The specific broader question that Walter's story poses. The specific question about which bonds deserve which acknowledgement, and what the specific culture owes a specific person whose specific grief does not fit the specific available frameworks, is one that extends well beyond the specific context of the war dog handler. There are specific people in every specific community who are carrying specific griefs that the specific culture around them does not have the specific framework to acknowledge. The specific grief of the specific person who has lost a specific relationship that the specific culture does not recognize as a relationship. The specific grief of the specific person whose specific loss does not fit the specific categories of the specific available acknowledgement. The specific grief of the specific person who is told, in various forms of the various specific idioms, that the specific thing they're grieving was not the specific thing that the specific available framework is designed for. Walter was told it was a dog. The specific thing he had lost was a specific partner who had kept him alive in the specific jungle. Both were true. The first was the specific available framework. The second was the specific actual thing. The specific available framework was insufficient. The specific person it was offered to knew it was insufficient. He managed anyway. He carried the specific grief in the specific private forms available, and he wrote the memoir. And he put the specific words in the specific record. The specific record acknowledges what the specific culture did not acknowledge in his lifetime. The memoir acknowledges it. This episode acknowledges it. The specific conversation, wherever and whenever it happens, between the specific person who has read the memoir or heard the story and the specific person who is carrying a similar specific grief that the specific available framework does not acknowledge, that conversation acknowledges it too. He did not need the specific monument or the specific ceremony. He needed the specific acknowledgement that the specific bond was real, and that the specific loss was real, and that the specific grief was real. He found it, partially, in the memoir. He found in the specific handful of people who read the memoir and who wrote to him to say they understood. He deserved more. He found what was available. He used it. Walter's daughter carries a story now. The memoir is in the libraries. The collar tag is in the family. Rex is in the words. The specific morning walk. The specific 2 years and 4 months. The specific not looking back. The specific 40 years of looking back. All of it is in the words. All of it is a specific full accounting of the war dog handler who came home without his dog and who spent the rest of his life honoring the bond that the specific institution had broken and that the specific culture had not acknowledged and that the specific memoir had finally named. He named it. The name is in the world. Subscribe and share this story with someone who carries a grief the culture has told them is not grief. Their grief is grief. Their bond was real. Their loss deserves acknowledgement. He came home without Rex. He wrote the memoir. Rex is in the words. That is enough. That is the full accounting of the war dog handler, who came home without his dog and never recovered. There is one specific final image I want to give this episode. The specific image that Walter describes in the last paragraph of the memoir, which is a specific ending he chose for the specific account of the specific bond and the specific loss. He wrote, Some nights I dream about the specific morning walk, not the specific last morning, the specific ordinary morning, one of the hundreds of the specific ordinary mornings of the specific 2 years and 4 months. Rex beside me, the specific Pacific light, the specific sound of the specific jungle before the specific day began, the specific ordinary morning of the specific ordinary thing we did together. In the dream, I always know it is a dream. I always know that the specific morning is the specific past, and that the specific walking beside me is the specific memory rather than the specific reality. And I always choose to stay in it anyway, to have the specific ordinary morning one more time, in the specific form available, which is a specific dream. I wake up. He is not there. He has not been there for 40 years. He is still in every specific dream where the specific Pacific light is the specific right light, and the specific sound of the specific jungle is the specific right sound. I am glad for the dreams. They are the specific form of the specific bond that the specific time has left available. I would rather have Rex. I have the dreams. The specific available form is the specific one I have been given, and I receive it. He receives it. He received the specific dreams for 40 years. He wrote the memoir. The memoir is in the world. The specific bond between the specific man and the specific dog and the specific light of the specific Pacific mornings is in the memoir, in the specific form that the specific writing allows. Rex is in the dreams. Rex is in the memoir. Rex is in the collar tag. Rex is in the specific words that Walter chose for the specific ending of the specific account of the specific most important relationship of the specific war. He came home without Rex. He received the specific available forms. He used them. He honored the bond in every specific form available until he died. That is the war dog handler. That is the full accounting. He came home without his dog. He received the dreams. He wrote the memoir. Rex is in the words. That is enough. That is everything. The specific final thing I want to say about Walter and Rex is about the specific title of the memoir. Walter called it The Morning Walk, not the war dog, not Rex, not the bond, The Morning Walk. His daughter asked him, when the memoir was published, why he had chosen that title. He said, because the specific morning walk is the specific thing that is most true about the specific relationship, the specific operational work, the specific dangerous work, the specific engagements, the specific moments when Rex identified the specific danger before the specific human eyes could. That is the specific dramatic part. But the specific morning walk is the specific thing I think about. The specific ordinary morning. The specific ordinary thing we did together before the specific day began. The specific ordinary morning is the specific thing that love is made of, not the dramatic moments. The specific ordinary morning, day after day, building the specific bond out of the specific accumulated ordinary. He chose the title because the specific morning walk was a specific, most accurate description of the specific thing the specific book was about, not the specific war, not the specific loss, not the specific grief, the specific bond. And the specific bond was made of the specific ordinary mornings. He was right. The bond was made of the ordinary mornings. The grief was the specific ending of the ordinary mornings. The memoir was a specific way of having the ordinary mornings one more time, in the specific form that the specific writing allows. The Morning Walk, that is the title, that is the book, that is the man. He came home without Rex. He carried the grief. He dreamed the specific morning walks for 40 years.